welcome back to another episode of Up in the Air.stream, and this is going to be a shorter video, which is a rarity for me, I know, but I will try to get to the point of it. Don't mind the mess of all the tools and parts and pieces that I have over here. We're still right in the middle of our Cerbo GX install, but I wanted to make this video separate because I think it's I'm gonna sound like a total geek here by saying this, and I mean that in a good way. That I wanted to share with you how you can set a geofence for your Airstream for the Cerbo GX, and also allow it to update to give you the accurate weather on the VRM portal, which is neat because that's also something that at a glance you can look at all your devices, your fridge, your temperatures, your voltages, your tank levels, your propane levels, and the weather, and then it will also do a prediction on what solar capability that you're going to have for that particular day based on the weather as well and the cloud cover. So now I might be overstating that, but from my understanding, it does take in those factors as far as the local weather, and it predicts your solar capability as well and how much you'll actually bring in based on your system and your capabilities and your historical data. So it's extremely smart. But one of the components that it needs to be able to do this is a GPS antenna. And I was kind of worried at first, and I'll take the video down if it proves to be problematic and not as good as I think. But I have put this antenna up in the north-facing window of our Airstream, and it picked up really good. I mean, it picked up a lot of satellites, got our fix right away. So super impressed. Now, this sounds like maybe this is an expensive addition, and I'm not seeing any videos of this at all. I looked for them. I wanted to know more on what antenna to use, and I know Victron says, oh, they're relatively inexpensive, but it doesn't give any specs, and I don't see any specs even anywhere on any other literature. So just even in the forums I looked, but obviously I missed it. I'm sure somebody is talking about it, but I missed it. So this is what you need. This is a very generic antenna. There is online vendors that sell them that specifically mention them as being, well, sort of mention. They don't mention, they sell them. They don't talk to you about how, because they're charging more for these than you can get them on Amazon. And I'll put the Amazon description up here on the screen so that you can see it and know how to order it and what title to type in to be able to get one. They're like 15 bucks shipped, you know what I mean? And so I'm going to talk about this a little bit more on why I was motivated to do it. I've said a little bit already on why, but also here is the cool thing. So this is the VRM portal. This is the online version that you can go on your computer and sign on anywhere in the world, as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection for your Cerbo, and we do. And we have like a Verizon hotspot is what we utilize. So the beauty of this is, just like my dog's fly collar, you can set a geofence of your choosing, of your diameter. And that geofence, when you get to your location, if you make a reminder or set, if you're in a location for a while, or maybe you have your Airstream at a storage facility, this geofence will alert you when your Airstream leaves the geofence. So that it's like an alarm, you know what I mean? And so it's just like your dog leaving his backyard. So I think you get the idea what I'm talking about. It will, and you can make it like a circle, or you can make it a square. It's whatever you want. But the circle was easy enough for me to set in case I go to the front of my property or the rear of the property, moving the Airstream around while I'm doing maintenance. I don't necessarily want it to go off, but maybe I'll show you that as well and show you exactly what it does when it does that. But it will be an email notification is what it will be. So yeah, it's like a little security device, and no subscription. It's just, you know, it's basically your subscription of your hotspot. Now the downside would be is, yes, in fact, you would have to keep your hotspot on, and you know, you'll have to check to make sure. I sound like a disclaimer, you know, rates will apply type thing, but you'll have to make sure that it's not going to take too much of your data. That VRM portal, you know, doesn't utilize, that the Cerbo doesn't utilize, that is, too much of the data while it's uploading to the cloud, you know, this data and talking with VRM portal and sending its information there. So you do want to check that, make sure you know, I don't want you coming back being mad at me like, you know, well, we had a limited plan and it used all 10 gig of my data. So you want to make sure to do that. So what I'm going to do next is, you know, the Cerbo is down here in this compartment, and I guess it'd be good if I showed you what the antenna looks like. Let me bring it over here before we plug it in and get it where it's not so visible. Cleared off a little spot here so that you can see it. So that's all it is. It's about as generic as it can be, and it has a magnetic base on it, and it's kind of weird they call it G mouse, you know, I guess because it looks like a mouse. And you know, it's you know, like you already seen the box, so the description. And when you plug this into the Cerbo via the USB port, it recognizes it right away, and like I said, it got a GPS fix right away. So I don't know how accurate it is, but it's accurate enough to get your regional information. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to run it through this foam, the USB cord, and then down into this compartment, and then we're going to put up this wall. We're going to put a couple wire anchors, and then we're going to put a double-sided metal, because this aluminum will not hold it. Like I said, it has a magnetic base to it. We're going to put a metal plate. So I want to show you this stuff before I put it on there, because once I put it on there, it might not be so obvious. So this is you can buy these off of Amazon as well. This one happens to be rectangular, which I think is gonna, yeah, that's gonna fit up there nicely. They sell them mostly round, but that one being rectangular, I think it's gonna fit up there better. And so I'm gonna put some VHB tape on the back of this, clean it up with alcohol really good, and then let me break out these little anchors so you can see them. Though I think it would be pretty obvious once they're up there on the wall. You know, I basically was excited about this, so I told the wife, I was like, yeah, we're gonna have this cable running up the side here, and she's like, ah, that's no big deal, especially for the benefit that we're gonna have. So here's our little wall anchors that we're gonna utilize to probably these single ones. Just gonna run the wire right up through those. I like these because there's no zip tie to basically catch your skin if you roll over in the middle of the night. You know, they just channel. You just push your cable down in there, and you won't have a sharp like zip tie or something like that. And they're soft rubber, so you know, even like little wily dog, he wouldn't, you know, maybe hurt his eye or something if he was to bump up against this in the middle of the night. So there's that, and then yeah, let's get it installed, and then I'll show you on the touch screen what it looks like on the touch screen as it populates, and we're to verify that it's actually working. All right, so this is an example of what the email would look like. It's a VRM notifier, and it actually sent me this message while I was videotaping, you know, basically explaining our installation here. And this would be a similar message. This is just basically saying that it's lost GPS data. So not only will it tell you if it leaves the geofence perimeter that you have specifically set, the diameter and the area, but it also will even say, hey, I don't know where it is anymore because we don't have data coming in. So if, like, say maybe your hotspot was to go bad or something like that, you'd have the peace of mind that, hey, this is still working. I didn't get an email. I didn't go to my junk box, and I can actually, you know, log on and check out where my unit is. So like I said, you know, God forbid your Airstream gets stolen. This would actually continue to track it like a low jack, effect almost. So that'd be very helpful. But like I said, if you have it in storage, or maybe you have like a seasonal spot that you keep your Airstream, this would also be helpful in that regard. All right, so this has worked out pretty good. Let's start with the antenna up here in the window. And like I said, we're facing north, which all the satellites are to the south, and it's still picking up really well. Some people say that that the metal, if it's shaped right, and well, they weren't referring to an Airstream, will actually aid in the reception of these GPS satellite signals. And we'll see how many satellites we have as we move over to the Touch 70 and kind of navigate through some of the details of this GPS as it shows up on the display. But you couldn't pick a better piece of metal to basically complement the GPS antenna here, as far as it being a big piece of aluminum around gathering these signals, I guess. I mean, I don't know, it's just a theory, right? But so the good thing is too, is this being magnetic, it sticks on there extremely well. As you can hear, like, it wants to pull on there. Try to get a thicker piece of metal. This came with a set of like lights, so I don't have a link to this, so I apologize. This was something that actually came, but try to get a thicker piece of metal. That way it has plenty of iron to attract to, the magnets do, and suck to. So this is hidden behind the curtain for the most part, and then the wires come down. Now, I'm a huge advocate of not sticking like command hooks and other things, but each their own. You pay good money for your Airstream, you do what you want to do with it. But I know this is out of my norm as far as wanting to stick things on the wall, but for this purpose, man, it is definitely worth it. For this to be slightly unsightly, and that wire will straighten out a little bit more. And then down here in the compartment, it just runs right beside the bed through that foam. I might try to get a little bit of strain relief off that edge there, but keep in mind that you're going to have this wood, so you're going to have to go around it. But that worked out pretty good because it stopped right where I wanted to. And then I put just one of those Velcro wraps around the cables to kind of protect the cables from the zip tie. Put an anchor there, and then it comes down, goes through the race, which kind of gives a little bit of tension, and then eventually goes down into the servo. And the little details, are the ones that frustrate you. And so that's why I felt the need to do an additional video for this specifically, even though, it may not be applicable to you, but maybe it will after you see how easy this is to do this. Now they may have fixed this on the Mark II. I don't think it was like a fix per se, but I don't know for sure on the Mark II that this is still the case. But definitely on the original Cerbo GX, the first USB port that we have powering the Touch 70 along with the HDMI, the first one, or the nearest one, the one adjacent to your HDMI cable for the Touch 70 or Touch 50 for that matter, is a USB, and that is supposedly power only. So do not plug your GPS antenna or any other communication device that you want to have communications with the Cerbo into that first port, because it is a powered only port. And I figured that out last night, just kind of looking around in the forums. So that is the port that you want, or the one even next to that. But I'm sure there'll be something that I want to plug into that later. And then going back to the idea, don't be using the Cerbo as a powering device for USB devices. They highly discourage you from doing that. So that is the installation. And next thing I'm going to show you is how it shows up on the Touch 70. All right, so here we are at the Touch 70, and it did notify me again that it was within the geofence area, and it notified me that that we in fact had GPS data again. So let's wake up the Touch 70. Now obviously when you go back to pages, then you go to menu, then you go to settings, then you'll scroll down, and you'll see, and all this is getting ready to change because they're getting ready to update this to the new Venus OS, and it's pretty exciting. I mean, they've had beta testing on it since the end of last year, 2023, and this is 2024 coming up in the fall, and I'm hoping that they release it soon. So these menus may completely change, but the idea will be similar. So there's our device. It shows up right on there when you plug it in. If you unplug it, it disappears. So that's kind of the behavior that you would expect from that to verify that it's working. And then it'll say GPS okay, and that we do have a fix. It gives us our lat and long. If you want to look up that lat and long, that is in fact where I live. So these days anybody can find you, so I'm not worried about that whatsoever. Even, you know, just like a normal GPS unit, it's given us altitude. We are currently going at 0 miles per hour with a 0.1 mile per hour. You can change those units, by the way, and I'll show you that next. We're not moving, so it doesn't have a course that we're going, like a heading. That's kind of like a nautical thing. And then, yeah, we're up to 10 satellites now, and I'm sure as maybe it gets some satellites move through the air, through space. I think they're actually stationary, I think, orbitally. No, I don't know. Anyways, we won't I won't get into that. But you know, some may drop off, cloud cover or whatnot. So, but 10, you know, that's a pretty good fix, I guess. So let's see what this says. Device. It says that our device is connected. It says what kind of device it is. Our expensive $14 Amazon GPS antenna. It doesn't give us like firmware information. I'm sure maybe more expensive devices or something like that might communicate better, but it doesn't do that. And then so we'll go back, and then let's go into GPS settings. And like I said, you can change it from mile per hour to knots if you were using this on a boat. But we're talking about an Airstream, and so we'll go back to miles per hour, and then the format here is you know, your lat and long format. We're not going to concern. We're just going to leave it at the default because we're not going to concern ourselves with basically the minutes and everything. I'm kind of forgetting a little bit about my nautical experience from the Navy. I used to know how to all that stuff. The, you know, all the units and everything else in multiple formats. But all right, so let's go back, and yeah, that is it. I'm super excited about this. Easy. And I think this indicator right here, yeah, that, look, it even shows you right there. So we have Wi-Fi, and then also it's showing us our geofence. I don't think it, no, so you can't touch that. I think if you touch your Wi-Fi, it goes to Wi-Fi, but it's actually showing that we are actively geofencing also, which that's kind of cool. All right, so, all right, well, that wraps up this video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you find this useful. If you have a Cerbo GX already, this is going to be something that you may want to decide to add to it. I have not seen anybody do this or talk about it, at least. There's tons of people with Cerbo GXs that install them in their Airstream. I wonder if they know that this is available or not, because some of them may have had installers doing it and they didn't investigate it. So, well, we're still doing many more projects and many trips coming up. I will get some of our destinations out there for you guys as well in our campground reviews. So make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified as we release new videos. And I appreciate everybody watching. Everybody make sure to be safe and get out there and have some fun.